In my search, I stumbled upon a small building in one of the older neighborhoods. On the out, when I moved to a new city, I had to find a place to stay. My budget was tight, and of course, I couldn't afford an expensive apartment. In my search, I stumbled upon a small building in one of the older neighborhoods. On the outside, it looked worn out, but it was decently priced. I was happy to find something, even if it wasn't much. The first evening I arrived, it was raining. The weather in this area was always unwelcoming. I entered the building, and the atmosphere immediately felt off. Creaky wooden stairs, an old, dim chandelier, flickering lights. When I made my way up to the second floor, where my room was, I noticed that the doors in the hallway looked strange. Like the locks hadn't been repaired in ages. But it didn't matter. I opened the door to my room, only thinking about how tired I was. The room was small but cozy. The walls were peeling, the furniture was old, but overall, it was livable. At first glance, the room seemed normal, but over the next few days, I started to feel a growing sense of unease. At night, I was often awakened by noises, like someone was walking quietly in the hallway. At first, I thought it was just the old building creaking or people coming home late. But as time went on, I began to notice details that unsettled me. One day, when I returned home, I found that the hallway doors were open, even though I was certain I had closed them. As if someone had been entering other apartments. I went into my room, but when I tried to open the door, it wouldn't budge. The lock was jammed, and I couldn't get it open. Eventually, the door gave way, but I felt an unsettling cold in the room. It wasn't the usual cold, like from an open window or an air conditioner. It was a different kind of cold, the kind that made my skin crawl. With each passing day, I noticed more strange things. For example, every time I went to sleep, I'd hear rustling noises, as if someone was moving around in the dark. Sometimes, I'd wake up and see strange shadows in the mirror on the wall, shadows that couldn't have been mine. I thought it was just exhaustion, but soon I began to feel like I wasn't alone. One night, I woke up to a strange rustling in the room. I opened my eyes, but saw nothing. Silence. Still, I felt that something was wrong. I sat up in bed and looked around carefully. In the corner of the room, something stood. It was barely visible in the darkness, but something about its shape unsettled me. I closed my eyes, thinking it was just my mind playing tricks on me. But when I opened my eyes again, the figure was still there, in the corner. I tried to get up, but my legs felt like they weren't obeying me. At that moment, I heard a whisper. It was faint, almost inaudible, but it came from the corner where the figure stood. I felt the coldness seep into my bones as the shadow began to move toward me. It wasn't something I could describe with words. I tried to scream, but my voice caught in my throat. I tried to get up, but my body felt like it was glued to the bed. The shadow kept moving closer, and I could feel its presence pressing on me. It was a terrible sensation, like the air around me was being compressed, and each breath became harder to take. I could barely move when the figure was right in front of my face. I could feel its cold hands touch my skin. I couldn't scream, I couldn't move. I was paralyzed with fear. That night, when I finally managed to break free from the nightmare, I ran out into the hallway. Everything around me seemed strange, warped. I made my way to the exit and tried to get out of the building, but the door wouldn't open. I stood there, losing all strength, and suddenly I heard a voice. It was soft, but so clear that I couldn't mistake it. "You won't leave," it said. "You're here forever." In a panic, I finally managed to open the door, but I ended up in an empty, lifeless hallway. And that's when I realized I couldn't escape. I tried to go back to my apartment, but the building felt endless. I was trapped inside, and there was no way out. I never returned to that house. But sometimes, when I close my eyes, I still feel that cold and hear the whispers that will haunt me for the rest of my life.